Hello guys and welcome to my channel Moo Journey. In today's video, we're going to learn everything you have to know about the outer gods of Elden Ring and what is considered an Elden god or just a god. Enjoy. The outer gods are mysterious beings mentioned throughout the lore of Elden Ring. They do not appear to manifest physical forms within the lands between and instead influence the events of the land between in other ways, including through worship by denizens of the lands between and by powering incantations. The outer gods are responsible for many of the events that happen both before and during Elden Ring's story, and have acted in both benevolent and malicious ways. This is the list of the confirmed outer gods in the game. The Formless Mother, an outer god also known as the Mother of Truth, who graves wounds. The Formless Mother is associated most closely with Mog, Lord of Blood, giving him and his followers access to blood incantations. When Mog stood before her, deep underground, his accursed blood erupted with fire. Mog's attempts to elevate Michaela to godhood imply that the Formless Mother possesses the ability to uplift someone to the status of god. Reference to the Formless Mother being an outer god can be found in the description of Mogwin's sacred spear. Next we have the sealed god of Scarlet Rot, an outer god associated with the corrupting Scarlet Rot. Little is explicitly said about this god's nature or intentions, but Gowry, who proclaims himself dedicated to the Order of Rot, likens said order to the cycle of decay and rebirth. According to the Blue Dancer charm, this outer god was reportedly sealed away by a blind swordsman with a flowing sword, and the Lake of Rot map confirms that. It confirms that the Lake of Rot is the location of the sealing. The Prothesis wearer heirloom implies that this same swordsman goes on to mentor Melina, who is similarly afflicted with rot. While the connection is never made explicit, Melina's elevations to the goddess of rot maintains a pattern of people being uplifted to the status of god, while also being associated with a higher being or outer god, such as Michaela under the Formless Mother and Marika under the Greater Well. Reference to the god of Rot being an outer god can be found in the description of the Lake of Rot map and the Scorpion Stinger. Next we have the unnamed god of the Twin Bird, an outer god related in some fashion to death. All that is stated about this outer god is that the twin bird is its vassal, and that the twin bird is in turn the mother of death birds. Ghost flame sorcerers such as Ancient Death Ranker and Explosive Ghost Flame are explicitly related to death birds, as these are death sorceresses which are boasted by the Prince of Death Staff. It may be reasonable to infer that the death birds and their god are similar in nature to those who live in death. This idea is strengthened by a ghost flame weapon, the Helven Steeple, is dropped by Tipia Mariner. According to the Steeple, there is a place known as the Helven, which may be associated with this outer god. The death birds and their god may be opposed to distant death due to the fact that Muslim knights who according to their shields wish to ward off distant death, adorn their armor with wings to evoke the death bird. Reference to the god of twin bird being an outer god can be found in the twin bird kite shield. Next we have the frenzied flame, The frenzied flame is either an outer god itself or a manifestation of an outer god's influence. At the end of Yita's questline, she is able to speak to us on behalf of the frenzied flames, the three fingers. It outlines it believes that the greater will's act of fracturing the one great into life as we know it was a mistake and is the source of all suffering. Its intentions are to burn the world until all is one again. This outer god is associated with the various frenzied flame incantations and can be sided with, culminating in the Lord of Frenzied Flame ending. The frenzied flame is never specifically referenced as an outer god, but is subdued using Makela's needle, which states its specific function is to ward away the meddling of outer gods. It may be argued that the flame is the meddling and not the outer god itself, but this does seem to confirm that there is an outer god involved. Now next we're gonna talk about the celestial entities. There are several beings that are never stated to be gods nor outer gods, but are confirmed to come from beyond the lands between and appear to possess power and the intent to exert influence upon the world, which may form the basis for an argument for them being outer gods. One of them is the Greater Well, the entity with the most influence in the current age of the lands between, yet an entity that is perhaps surprisingly never referred to as an outer god. According to Elden stars, the Greater Will sent the Elden Beast down to the lands between, which later manifests as the Elden Ring. The ring appears to require a native vessel in the lands between, similar to how confirmed outer gods have taken to associating with vessels and servants. The vessel of the Elden Ring is considered a god, and the god's consort takes the title of Elden Lord, assuming Elden Lord means consort to the vessel of the Elden Ring. Then we know of two gods under the Greater Will, Marika and Placidosax, fled god. The Greater Will appears to communicate via the two fingers, creatures that can allegedly contact the entity and relay its message to finger readers, who then pass this message to the people of the lands between. The message that the fingers deliver is one of order, although the Greater Will does not appear to be strict about the manner in which order is achieved, as we see multiple different orders across the various ages, and the player has the option between four variations across the various Elden Lord endings. However, Gideon and Ver both allude to fingers having been affected in some way, such that their message may be out of touch with the Greater Will's intent. Next we have the full/dark moon. The two moons that we know of in Elden Ring could be argued to behave similarly enough to outer gods to be classified as such. Both have a terrestrial representative similar to outer gods, Ranella for the full moon and Rani for the dark moon, and both seem to have power that exceed their peers. Ranella is able to use her discovery of the full moon to bewitch the Academy of Raya Lucaria and become the head of the institution itself, while Rani's Dark Moon would appear instrumental in expelling even the Greater Will's influence from the lands between and ushering in the Age of Stars ending. There is no text referring to either moon as a god nor an outer god, so it remains speculative as to whether or not they are. The Blood Star, an enigmatic entity associated with apparent sorcerers, priors of punishment, says the Blood Star was said to have been discovered by the guilty amidst darkness after their eyes were gouged out by thorns. Some players have speculated the Blood Star to be the influence of the Formless Mother due to the joint association with blood, although the lack of arcane scaling across apparent items, coupled with the appearance having no association with Mog's dynasty or blood flame, somewhat negates this idea. The nature of the blood star is ultimately up to speculation. Then later we have gods of an unconfirmed status. These gods have not been confirmed to be outer gods, but are, at the very least, known as the gods and have an unclear origin that can be used to argue that they are outer gods. First, we have the Fell God, a god worshipped by the fire giants, associated with fire giant and fire monk incantations. The Fell God, according to the one-eyed shield, was rumored to have been slain by Queen Marika, but is confirmed to still lurk within the fire giants themselves, according to the flame of the Fell God. Some players argue that it may be an outer god in virtue of its relative strength and lack in its own body, although the concept of Marika engaging in combat may serve as an argument for it being a similar kind of god to her. Next, we have an unnamed ancient dragon god, a god associated with the dragon lord Blasidosax, during this time as Elden Lord. In an age before the Earthtree, this god is said to have fled, although the reason for this and the consequences of it are not elaborated on. Some players argue that Placidosax's title of Elden Lord logically entails that he was a lord under the Greater Will, as every other Elden Lord we know is, and the god that fled was his spouse and vessel of the Elden Ring. Other players argue that Placidosax may be Elden Lord by some other myriad, and that the god in question is the outer god he serves under rather than the Greater Will. Let me know your thoughts. Next we have Serpent God, the giant snake which devoured Ricard. This god is theorized to be an outer god in the basis that it is allegedly undying and possesses the ability to devour gods. Other players argue that the serpent does not possess the typical traits and MO of an outer god, such as no clear physical form and reliance on vassal entities. Next we have speculated outer gods. Some entities, while never referred to as an outer god or even implied to be in some way outer, draw speculation from players as to whether they may fall under the label regardless. First we have the Gloom-Eyed Queen. The Gloom-Eyed Queen is a figure that appears across various items descriptions and remains shrouded in mystery as to where she is now. Despite Black Flame ritual confirming her status as an Empyrean, which are usually demigods chosen by the Greater Will, theories of her being an outer god among many other things are popular among players. It is possible that the Gloom-Eyed Queen is Melina. During the Frenzy Flamed ending, Melina's sealed eye is opened. It is opened after the player activates the Rune of Distant Death, further implying her connection to it, and she vows to hunt down the Lord of Frenzied Flame and slay them with Distant Death. This tells us that she has a connection to Distant Death. Melina also shares a similarity with Lunar Princess Ranni. One of Ranni's eyes are sealed with the same looking mark that seals Melina's eye. Ranni is already confirmed in Empyrean, so if Melina is related to Ranni, then that means that she is a demigod at the least. It's also implied that her mother was Queen Marika, stating that she was born on the foot of the Earthtree, but was badly burned and forgot her purpose. The Primeval Current. The Primeval Current is an esoteric and mysterious force in Elden Ring that is elaborated on little by the game beyond the connection to magic. Glintstone and stars, its fake nature make the current ripe for speculation about what it could be, and some of these speculations have included that it may be an outer god. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.